Okay, now we're going to talk about the setup and how we set this guy up. So the first thing you want to do is you hit the setup button and it says make selection again to go and enter setup. So you have to hit it again, then you go to your setup. We're going to start with sensors, and here is where you're actually going to enable the sensors. I can enable one sensor or two sensors. I've got currently an encoder set up here. So I'm going to turn on analog 1. I'll go back and you can see I've got force 1 and analog 1 on these two. If I turn this guy off, then I just have 1. So here's where you would turn on and turn off the specific analogs that you want to see. What you can do is you can edit this. If you go into edit, you can see that you've got different tabs here. The pieces that are highlighted are what you can enter. So you can type in the name that you want to show up. You can also type in the decimal places and the units so that this will say pounds, it could say newtons. Here's the range. You set your range for plus or minus 10 volts to plus or minus 33 millivolts. This is in essence telling the system what to expect as far as an incoming voltage. This will help your resolution. If you've got a millivolt signal, you would not want it on 10 volts. You'd want it on millivolts. If you had a 10 volt signal, you want it on 10 volts. Enable, disable is a button. His mode is low pass filter on or off. I like to keep it off. And then the calibration. The calibration in essence is if you put raw values, this is going to be raw volts. If you put engineering values, then what you've got is this slope is the multiplier that you're using to multiply the voltage. So if I have a 10 volt signal, and I'm multiplying my slope times 100, that means when I get 1 volt in, I get 100 pounds. If I get 10 volts in, I get 1,000 pounds. So that would be a 1,000-pound load cell. Let's say I had a 500-pound load cell. That means that every single volt would equal 50 pounds. So this is a multiplier that is used to multiply the incoming voltage so that you can get a value here that is engineered values. Of course, I can zero it at any time, hitting the 0 here. And this display is really nothing more than a voltage display of what's going on. This is showing you what's going on. I have nothing connected now, and that's why there's just floating around. There's nothing going on. So one last thing I'm going to mention is that when you go to your edit, here's where you can enable auto 0, and if you select auto 0, then it says that the selected sensors will be zeroed at the time of the start operation. So every time you start, it's going to in essence zero it. You may or may not want to do that.